Well, hello there, everyone. Here to talk about right here is the passion driving skills. Talk about say toll roads is a color activity right here, and basically that we see right here is that we do right here is like a picture, is like a top, it's like a drawing right here, like you know, picture right here of I say you got right here is like an overpass, like a highway, and then along right here is like is a truck, and basically talk about your toll roads and. Basically, if anybody has ever done the study about talking about for a passion of driving skills, like you've seen from the other related type of activity talk about it's like for the highway driving, and I was also thinking about maybe adding in maybe a gas station along with it, and maybe some shopping malls, stuff like that. But basically, though, that I'll be working right here is with you say the HB like pencil and a few other pencils too, but and on the other hand, now talking about if this was like maybe a traffic light, then I went ahead and drew an example right here. If like this was like maybe like a highway, street sign or something like that, overpass sign, and knowing about that most of them. Most of these signs that would show like you say the highway name, if it's route W, something like that, route W, and then you'll see if it's CR, east or something like that, and then along with west, if it's you got the directions at about right there. And let's just say that I'm like, I got the pen here, and I'm like, yeah, go from pencil to pen, and like knowing about whichever one that draws better. But let's just say that if you I can go ahead and draw an example right here of a car right here. And like, tell anybody here while I'm drawing is knowing about if we were to do the study about, toll roads. It's exactly about what they are and, how they work. But according to what I hear about, of course, is that knowing about they are basically, road, like gates. I guess you can kind of call them gates. Gates that are located on a parts of say on the highway on the roads to where that basically you had to pay just to pass through portion say of the highway. And I don't know if I guess you can maybe describe them kind of like gates, but on their hand that if I can remember, I'm like never that I know of, I'm like haven't really gone through past a toll road. But let's just say that most likely anybody that may warn though, I'm like I've pretty much warn her that I'm like for highway driving that a lot of times it's usually free. And I'm like, you just as long as you know where the highway is, from where you're going, if we're going eastbound or westbound, then usually a lot of times you don't have to worry about all the expenses about making sure that I'm like if you come up to a point to where you get on the highway, and then you have to worry about maybe having some extra cash with you, or having your paying your check paying card ready just to get on the road. And like with anybody that may wonder though, I'm like about the rules though. I'm like why is it that's the rule? And you got right there, it's like if this was a car, I guess that would be going westbound, and this I guess this side right here I guess will be like say say west to eastbound, and then this would be like westbound it is. But anyway, but you have these cars right here, and a lot of times with most of these highway overpasses, that most of the time that if there's like an overpass with cars going about the same direction, and then some of them could be like if you call them like say diagonal to your directions, but other than that, I talk about the studying about toll roads and knowing about what exactly what they are, and then maybe what the reason is for them. And I went ahead and drew right here as an example right here of these signs. And let's just say that at the signs, I can draw an example right here on like a square right here that kind of like shows an example on like about basically about toll roads. Is that you have right here are these like these signs are located knowing about. I'm like if the highway name. The highway's name would be, you see here, highway's name would be something like, CR East, like CR and then dash, East or something like that. Maybe, Route K see for Route K West. And a lot of times that there do be like arrows on the side right here pointing. And with these arrows that they usually say that, if you're going eastbound or westbound, then, from where, in the United States is like, if you're leaving, if going from Chicago, to like maybe St. Louis, Missouri or somewhere like that, or if it's going to Kansas State or maybe parts of Arkansas or maybe, Iowa or someplace like that, and knowing about that, you would have these, these signs right here. It's like be posted. A lot of times, if we were to be getting on the roads, on the highways, a lot of times that I'm like, that possibly that I don't know if anybody, if you're planning on going out of state, then it's possible that we would have to pay the cost, for the toll roads. And anybody may wonder though, I'm like, the cost of the toll roads here, and we may think though, I'm like, for toll roads, I'm like, what is like for TOLL. Yeah, I'm like TOLL. I'm like, well, what does it normally stand for? Like anybody probably think about. I'm like, that exactly what I guess it's that like particular name for it. But talk about say toll roads. It's basically that if like what you call is like if we have like so far that pronunciation for it, such as the obvious. The obvious long letter or something like if we were to think about it's like what are toll roads and basically I'm like with gas prices the way they are why do we even have to pay just to get on the roads? But in a lot of ways though, like anybody that if we're going to be doing a lot of highway traveling that knowing about that we may think that especially me, I usually think that, for the most part, if we were to put gas inside the car, I'm like, if there would be like that you have right here within about, the way I went through this highway right here, this highway would extends to about maybe 150 miles. If this was going at, northeast bound or something like that, I'm like this road right here going northeast up towards I can maybe pick a state in general, such as if this will be going for part north of Chicago or something like that, or maybe parts of St. Louis. I'm like I don't know about all the overpasses all together from that connect from the state of Missouri and then from Kansas and then on to maybe parts of Springfield and on to Arkansas, places like that. But let's just say that if you have these highway roads right here, maybe about 5 of them that connect from 3 different states, and basically that with most toll roads, that I guess that they usually say that you get on one toll road and then you follow that at about 100 miles. But then of course at these 3 different states, let's just say if there's 3 different states, and usually that from the map of the U.S. that more likely that anybody probably saying like if it's really fair or not, or no, it's not fair. We pay for the gas for the pump. We should not have to pay for this or that. But let's just say that you have these states right here. Let's just say if Missouri, the state of Missouri was about right here, and then you have right here. Chicago, Illinois, you have right here, state of Illinois right here, and then you have, say, the state of Arkansas, and then the state of Kansas. So like you have these 3 different states that would be located about right here, along with say, Lake, I guess we see Lake Michigan, along with the parts of north, and then Florida right down here. But let's just say that if you have these 3 different states right here, and you have about maybe 5 main. I'm like I don't know how many toll roads, but let's just say if you have these main roads, it could be like highway. You have right here is like maybe for Highway 60, if it's 60 63. I'm like, I think there's two different. It's like from parts of Missouri. It is that between Jefferson City, Columbia, and St. Louis, and along with that Fayette, those high roads, interstate roads. But let's just say that you have a highway, by name of for I-70. I-70 is like goes by for eastbound. That basically that we may wonder though that that there may be a highway that more likely you don't have to pay a toll road charge to, but then if you get on another interstate highway, then that leads to another state, and then they may say that for the most part that there is a charge, but then on the other hand too that it's like like anybody that may wonder though, I mean if there's going to be a charge and it's basically I don't know if you call it maybe a pass, but with this pass, let's just say it's a couple bucks. It's like if we were to actually do the math, let's just say that it's good. I don't know if it's good for even one day. Let's just say that if you pay $3, you pay $3 just to enter the from the toll road for that just out of that one day, or it's say it's $5.99 or something like that. But then for like if it involves like say for parking, I'm like this includes parking also for parking, and then for like rest stops, I'm like I'm not sure what the rules are nowadays for anybody who's doing any type of a traveling, especially towards the holidays for Father's Day, that knowing about that if we're going to be doing any type of any other type of traveling. But let's just say that you come out to a toll road, and we may wonder though that I'm like that that a lot of times with most interstate highways it is that wonder that when we're driving on these roads and then thinking about it, I can go ahead and use right here as a model car, and you got right here is like a pickup truck, and then right here is like say it's like station wagon from the other activity, but basically that. If I were to line them right here, if we were to be paying for, to get on these toll roads, and then you have these two cars right here, what, wouldn't it be fair maybe to have it to where, if you had a choice between if you want to go ahead and pay to get on your own lane, have like a private, public lane, and anybody that may wonder though, I'm like, that most of the time with most roads, highways, that they are usually, which say it's like in the city and the county limits, and you pay to get on them, and more likely that they say that that you would like to have enough room to where that if you want to go ahead and go at a certain speed, and then this car right next to you, that they decide like that they want to go ahead and maybe change lanes and go this direction, and then then they kind of want to change lanes and go. It's like if he goes by switching from east to southeast to northeast or something like that. But anyway, having like say your own private your own room for how you want to drive on the roads. And anybody that may wonder though, I'm like especially for what I had to say, what I would like to say about it is knowing about, I'm like, that if you're going to be paying for the gas, just to get up on, just to get on the road, just to get on the highway, get if it's going to be like an overpass, or if it's going to be the interstate highway, going out of town, or if it's just to travel within a certain distance. That knowing about, I'm like, that you're paying for, like we say, if it's the personal property tax, or maybe it could be a rental car, like anybody that, I'm like, besides anybody, anybody's feedback and knowing about, I'm like, what do I think about it? I'm like, that if the money is going to be going to improvements of the road conditions, and as well as as well as that, the cities and counties and states want to find some way to get more money, so they're going to go ahead and say that this is our rule. We're going to go ahead and charge for anybody that if they come up to this part of the city, such as if they're driving, eastbound, from St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, and then they want to go ahead and cross into parts, say, of Illinois, then there's a fee of about $7.50. Just to go, through the toll road, just to enter, into the city, into the state of Illinois, into the Chicago parts, they say, of Chicago area. And, and I would think, though, that with the cost of gas prices, I don't know how much they're going to go up to by this summer, but let's just say that with this talking about these toll roads, is that basically what are they? Are these like these signs that with the writing, or are they actually to where that there's like booths? And I'm thinking though that that they are booths, and I don't know exactly how they. I'm thinking though that that they are like if I can go ahead and draw an example of. I'm sure that they would probably say that they are not just one, but then two. But I can just draw one right here as an example that you have. Kind of like what we may have seen in the parking spots over there. If it's if you were parking at the stadium downtown, whichever But let's just say if you had these booths right here. Guy right here is a booth like kind of like this right here, to where that there will be a person in there, and I'm like anybody probably think about do something a little realistic and but draw somebody in there, and I'm like that you would drive up to a road like that, and then from there, and then you go ahead and pay the person a certain amount, just to get go through, and but on your hand, knowing about, I'm like way I would think about it, that I'm like with most of the time with toll roads, so if they are basically roads to where you have to pay just to go just across the gate to that to another state, to another city, just to if you're going to be going on a road trip, it is. And the way I would think about it though, that I'm like with most of the time with most most of us, that the way I think about it though, that I'm like that for how much it costs for insurance, and then on your hand too, that knowing about, I'm like that that for highway driving, I'm like if you're thinking about driving or going anywhere, then more likely, I'm like anybody may wonder though, that I'm like it don't have to be out of state either. I'm like it can be somehow like. Most licensed drivers, I'm sure, they probably look forward to being able to get on the road, and if they want to see family or friends, I'm like if they lived up down south or somewhere like that, and then the last thing that they had to worry about is that they had to pay just to get on a road, I'm like just to get on the highway or somewhere like that, just to go somewhere. And with the way gas prices are, I'm like anybody that wonder, I'm like that draw the highways, go ahead and draw as an example of a gas station. I can go ahead and draw right here. If this right here was an example right here of a Phillips station at about right here. You got right here is that there's the pumps at about right here, and then the car is actually pulling in. But on the other hand, and knowing about, I'm like if they're gonna have a gas station at about right here, and then a few other places where you can stop and eat or something like that, and then most of the things that we may see on the interstate highways nowadays, more likely that wondering that I'm like they've seen quite a few of them. I'm like if we're going to be going to the movies or shopping or anything like that, knowing about that we more likely see your stuff. But on the other hand, knowing about the question is to where if it's going to cost anything just to enter. I'm like that I know of, it don't cost anything just to go into the mall. I'm like if you want to drive somewhere and go into the mall or into a museum, there may be some museums that may cost maybe about $250 for maybe $350 for adults, and maybe children under the age of 5 is free or something like that. But on the other hand, and knowing about that, if we were to think about a so-called question to where that with most of the time with the understanding about toll roads, though that really, I'm like do we think it's fair that we have to pay the price just to get on the roads? And I'm like, especially if we really need to go somewhere, and if we were to actually do the math and knowing about that with each toll road, that if it extends to about, I would just say to about 130 miles. And I don't know how far most, it's like most interstate highways, I guess, it's like quite a few of them, maybe not all of them, but then some of them would go at about at least I would say about 50 miles. Like you get drive on a highway, and let's just say that that there's a few turnoffs and turn-offs, like I can go ahead and draw right here, using right here as a pen, but you got right here as a highway right here, and I guess you call them like kind of like trumpets or something like that. But we have these roads kind of like this right here, to where that if they are like 2-lane roads, and basically that the way that they connect though is that you get on you get if the at the main at the interstate highway is about right here. If this was going like eastbound, and then there would be one going westbound. And at knowing about, you have these turnoffs. With the turnoffs, so that if they would be connected to a road going about this direction right here, and then this one, this road right here will be connecting to a route further down, from this portion, from that side, is like I talk about, if it's going, if that's like besides east, if that'll be southeast or somewhere like that. But you got these different roads right here, and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that why is it that we had to pay the price for a road, especially if it's going to feel like a roller coaster ride. You drive on there and find out that you had to take you were not able to get a shortcut. I'm like that whenever you got on the road, and then it's not like that you had clearly about knowing and understanding the road signs and knowing about exactly where you were trying to go. It's like you got lost a couple of times, and like with anybody that may wonder though, I'm like, yeah, you pay. If you pay to get on a toll road, if there's any refunds, I'm like, non-refundable. If you were only gone for 5 minutes, it's not non-refundable. But on the way, I would think about though that if it goes by saying, it's like that yeah, I'm like, besides non-refundable, but I'm like that if you pay to get through the toll road, and then and let's just say that if you were gone, I'm like, yeah, that you were only gone for about 5 minutes, and they may say that, well, we don't really record about how long time. I'm like, I talk about you pay to cross the gate, and then let's just say if you come back within about an hour later, then usually that most toll roads prices that they say that they're good for the whole day, or maybe that they're good for the entire week or the entire month. But on the other hand, at knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that there are some things that you pay just to cross the gate, but then that don't include free parking, and then of course if you have to have a parking pass or any type of pass just to get through. But other than that, talk about say for the passion driving skills. I talk about understanding about the whole purpose about toll roads. Talk about like the color activity. It basically goes by saying of like talking about with toll roads is knowing that yeah, it's like if we gotta say go by the rules, and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that we may have the freedom to where after we get our license that we can go places it is, but on their hand, and knowing about if anybody were to ask that question to where that, I'm like, yeah, that knowing about, I'm like, where does the money go to? I'm like, talk about even the bikers, bikers that are coming in from out of state, and then think about if they had to pay per person, per biker, that they may have to pay on average of a tax rate, or maybe of a cost of about, let's just say if it's going to be at about $750 per person. If it's $750 per person, and then they go through a toll road, and then after about maybe 2 hours later they come back, and then they're like yeah, that like for knowing about how long, I'm like, yeah, if that's just for just to get past the toll road, and like the way I would think about though, that with most of the time, that where does that money go to? And like sometimes that they usually say that the money goes to improvements of the roads, and then how that the infrastructure, about how that they're improving the road conditions, and any road repairs that need to be done. But anybody that may wonder though, I'm like, yeah, that sometimes those road conditions is knowing about that that yeah, that every year that more likely we may see construction on the roads, but on the other hand, that I'm like, yeah, that that they don't they get enough money from us already? Such as I'm like, each time that we pull up to the pump, and then each time we go shopping, whichever it is, I'm like talking about. We all think about how much money we're paying on taxes each time we go shopping. We're not paying for just one tax, but on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, if we're talking about between now and later of talking about that, yeah, that the next thing that we got to worry about is that the parking spots. That with parking spots, that if you want to have a parking spot to where that you can pull into a garage, I'm like, that the parking garages, that if you want to have a spot to where it's easy to get in and out of the vehicle, and knowing about it's going to be an extra $10 or so, just to pay the park there. And the way I would think about it, especially if it's going to a game or if it's going shopping or something like that, we may wonder though that I'm like, yeah, that you had to pay to get on the road, you had to pay just to get a parking spot and pay for the food. But then on your hand too, that knowing about this parking spot better have what you call one of those like anybody think about, like, yeah, that while I'm parked there, why don't I have the opportunity to where I can go ahead and order to where I can have gas delivered to me in case if I run into problems with running out of gas, or if I want to have some air put into the tires or anything like that. I might talk about any type of service, and knowing about that that we pretty much pay for almost everything else. Just knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that from the time that I got here, and then from the time that I plan on leaving, and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, my ticket's already paid for, so somebody can go ahead and pay for my, on your hand, and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, but the whole purpose about toll roads is I can suggest anybody, if you're going to be driving, drive safely, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, well, we may not have control over the fact about, yeah, if we're going to be going places, is to know that we had that ability to where whenever we get a license that we can maybe drive to a number of places, maybe out of state, but on your hand, and knowing about, I'm like, which is cheaper, and then on your hand too, which, how often do we get real good deals, and knowing about, if you want to plan on spending the whole day visiting somebody or going somewhere, and then especially if it's going to be out of state, and just knowing about how much it would cost, more likely knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that whatever that can be arranged, but on your hand too, talk about, say, for the passion driving skills stuff, say it's like the toll roads, I say the like talk about is like the highway driving, I'd say the toll road.